Welcome into an all-new edition of Daily Faceoff Live. We're streaming live from the DFO YouTube, and as always, we're a presentation of Bet365. You can download the app today. Take advantage of the 3-goal early payout. If the team you're riding with goes up 3 at any point in the game, your bet cashes. Download the app. Must be 18 plus. Please play responsibly. Tyler Yaremchuk, Carter Hutton with you on the heels of what was another electric night in the Stanley Cup Final, Huts.
I know, like we broke it down yesterday and we talked about, it's going to be under. There's going to be a good goalie performance. It's going to be whatever. And then like instantly into the first period where we just highlighted Carolina's lack of offense in the first period. What do we get? Another crazy game. Bang, bang. This final's been nuts, baby. Yeah,
I love that you brought that up. Like it was something we talked about with Petey. We talked about it on the show yesterday. It's like, man, Carolina keeps having these great first periods where they dominate possession. They look like the better team. And then they get out of the opening 20 and it's like, oh, they have nothing to show for it. But much like they did back in game 1 last night, they were able to get that offense going early. It was an opening goal just a minute and 6 seconds into the game from Logan Stankoven. By the time this game, it wasn't even 5 minutes old yet, Jackson Blake had made it 2-0. And Huts, for a moment there, it was kind of like, and listen, we've had a bunch of these moments in the series where it's like, you kind of open your eyes and you're like, whoa, this team's going to run away with this hockey game. And then they don't. But early on, it was like, damn, Carolina came to play tonight.
They did. And for me, watching that early when they're up 2-0, it feels like the hockey player in me is like, oh man, Carolina's not going to give them anything tonight. And then all of a sudden, Mark Stone kind of wills himself into it. And then the other factor of like, I know he gets knocked a lot. I know they highlighted a lot on his broadcast last night. Like his skating ability is not the best, but man, that guy has opportunistic and he finds a way to get it done. And now at 3-1 after a power play goal on like a too many men call, like what are you doing? Like this is the Stanley Cup Final. You're taking a too many men call. Jordan Staal finds the back of the net. And then on top of that, the goal that ran out of time to end the first period. Like that was a crazy first period all around, everything we saw in front of us. So going into the room, if you're Vegas after a disallowed goal on the time running out, it's got to be hard to rally, but they find a way to push back. And obviously this game was unbelievable in the second and third as well.
Yeah, it really was. When Mark Stone makes it 2-1, like you said, you're thinking like, all right, now this building's rocking a little bit. Like, where are we going from here? What can we say? We'll talk about a couple of other things. And Matt Larkin, by the way, is our guest. We have an all-new Daily Faceoff trade board out this morning over at dailyfaceoff.com. So lots to get to with Larkin, including some Cup Final stuff. But, you know, we kind of danced around the idea, and I've been someone who's been pushing this. I said, like, Jordan Staal has a path to being the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. He was honestly the only reason I didn't want to just hand it right to Mitch Marner, even though I still think there could be a case for Marner to win, even if Vegas doesn't ultimately win the Stanley Cup. But I just look at what Jordan Staal has done in this series. He's now up to 5 goals. How important he's been shutting down Jack Eichel. Through 40 minutes last night, he was 70% in the face-off circle. Like, he is so impactful in so many different ways. And after the game, we talked to a couple of different Hurricanes players, and, you know, he's a moose, he's a horse. Jackson Blake called him a dog. Like, all of these different things, Huts, to describe Jordan Staal, a Thunder Bay boy, so I know you'll love talking about him, but like, he was so good last night. And if you have a kind of statement signature game like that in a Cup Final, on top of already being as good as he's been in the other games, you can be the MVP.
You know what I love about it too, Ty, is in a day and age now when it's all about flash and skill and toe drags and speed, and he plays the game the right way, right? He uses his body. He finds position. He's never going to wow you, right? Like, even you watch that game last night, and there's nothing to his game other than size and smarts and leadership, all these little things that make you – this is great for younger players to watch it. You can still be successful just playing the game the right way. So Jordan, someone that I grew up with, training with was a joke with him as a kid. Like, so I would talk about all of us being grown men, professional athletes. He's on another level, even compared to Eric and Mark. And I'm talking about Patrick Sharp or two. We had a big group of NHL guys. Jordan was always been a man-child. So his nickname out of Pittsburgh was Gronk because he was just so big and strong and just better than everyone. And it just goes to show you, when every time you hear, you know, Rod Brindamore talk about the Carolina Hurricanes and the structure and the teamwork, it's like, well, I know I have Jordan Staal. Like, he's kind of the Rod Brindamore of the group playing in there. And last night was a great example of that. The effort on that goal to put this game away, it was an awkward goal, right? We have it up here. Patty cues it up just on time. It's a great save here. And then you get 5 Vegas Golden Knights on the wrong side of the net, down low, Staal creeps out. He falls awkwardly on the play and has the wherewithal to just get his stick on it, and it finds a way. And I think that's a great clip of him on the ice celebrating face down, knowing how important that goal is in that moment, Ty.
So we got a comment here from General Soreness who says, can 11 points really get you the Conn Smythe? And again, like just to everything you were saying there, Huts, I think it can. And like, this is like, if you would ask me at the start of the playoffs, hey, can a guy get the Conn Smythe scoring 11 points? I would have been like, no, that's ridiculous. But the context of everything else Jordan Staal is doing, like Jack Eichel does not have a goal yet in this series. I think he's been held to 2 points. Someone in the press conference, in Rod Brindamore's press conference yesterday, said something to the effect of, when Jordan Staal is on the ice, the other team's centerman so far in these playoffs doesn't have a goal yet. Like, think about how important that is. He goes out there and plays against the other team's best players, and they don't score. And you add on top of that, that he is scoring at a very impressive clip in the most important time of the playoffs. Like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when people push back. Like, he has been their best player, and they could win the Stanley Cup. That MVP correlation right there.
I think that matchup alone of like what he's been able to do to Jack Eichel, when you're sitting here matchup wise, and he is winning it head and shoulders above it. Again, I think I look back to obviously a huge save last night by Brandon Bussi on Jack Eichel, the feed from Mitch Marner. But like, Jack Eichel looks like infuriated at times trying to break through. They're keeping him to the outside. And at the end of the day, he needs to be their best player. Yes, and Jack plays a defensive style as well. But that being said, Jordan Staal has those 5 goals in the final. It makes for a very good storyline. And I love it because the sense of like, it doesn't need to be all points based, right? And we look back to the Florida Panthers winning 2 Stanley Cups. And every single guy in that room, like Sam Bennett won the Conn Smythe, and he'll tell you who was my most important player on our team, Sasha Barkov, without a deal. Yeah. He is the Sasha Barkov of this team, and he is a big reason why this series is tied going back to Carolina.
Let's talk goaltending, Huts. Brandon Bussi, we were not sure who was going to be the Canes goalie. We speculated pretty heavily yesterday. I kind of got the hunch it was going to be Bussi, and it ultimately was. And not only did this guy play, he played very, very well, including a massive save with 7.5 minutes to go. He makes 25 of them on the night, but none were better than that cross-crease stop on Jack Eichel.
Huge. And, you know, and Ike's got it up too. Like, it was at the top of his pad. It was elevated. It's kind of a jam, right? Like, he's coming across. He's a righty. It like sticks him a little bit. But then the fact is, from there, he's just rock solid. I thought he was very aggressive. And something that I highlighted, I think a lot of people did as well, was like, how is Bussi going to respond having to sleep on a start and build and prepare and warm up and go through it? Because I understand the anxiety that goes into that in that moment. And the fact that he hadn't played in so long, right? Like, he didn't have a start. So good on him. He was very good. Even the save on the breakaway in the first Mark Stone. I know Mark Stone gets one on a breakaway, but he makes a save before that. And that's a big save too, because he gives that one up. There's some timely saves. He looked steady. He looked good. And the Freddie situation is an interesting one, right? If he's hurt, whatever's going on, it felt like this was Bussi's game no matter what. Like, I think that was my read going into it, the way that he played. I think he went in game 3 on mop-up duty, but he played so well, it was like, why are we not going to this guy? He's got 31 wins on the season for us. This is no slouch.
So Rod Brindamore, talking after the game, simply says Freddie needed a break. He talked to the goalie coach. Decision was made he needed a break. So they decided, hey, don't even dress him. If he needs a break, keep him away. He was apparently available as an E-bug, so they're not giving him any sort of injury designation here, which leads to a whole bunch of other questions. But I'll say this, Huts, with how good Bussi was, like, let's say Freddie is ready to go for Game 5. I'm not putting Freddie back in. Brandon Bussi's been that game was the best goalie performance of the series so far.
Yeah, it is. And again, that is the factor here, right? As we highlight Bussi and Andersen and the Carolina breakdown, I think there's also the factor of it's his net now to lose, right? Like, so if Freddie's back, he's sitting on the bench, Bussi goes, and then again, you just go from there. It's the fact that Carter Hart hasn't been great, right? Like, this is the other factor of, like, he's made timely saves. And last night, I think there's another one where there's a big time whiff on that first goal. Like, that is a goal that needs to be kept below the goal line. He swipes at it with the back of his blocker stick as he's in RVH on his glove side post. And for our listeners and viewers, RVH is when you're down in the butterfly, leaning on your post, a very controlled setting to seal the post, right? You can see me getting right here. You got to get all weird on the hard on the hips, hard on the knees, hard on everything. Trust me. But that's like a routine play. Like, you don't need to pop it away. You need to control that puck. And those, like, early in the game, that is like debilitating to your team. And I just don't think Carter Hart was good enough. I thought he made a great save on the Staal goal before they scored, but at the end of the day, you got to make big timely saves. And early in the game, it really hurt them.
4 goals against in every single game for Carter Hart. And listen, I know Carolina's a team that puts up a lot of grade A's, and this has been a series where like the shot totals aren't high, but the number of quality chances are high. But still, I just look at how good Hart was in rounds 2 and 3. But we have seen him throughout the year be a guy who, like, you know, when he goes into these slumps, he doesn't have games where he gives up 8 goals and it's like, oh my God, this guy can't stop a beach ball. But he's gone into these slumps where for 2 weeks, it's like, oh my God, every game he's given up 4 goals. And I also wonder, he hasn't played for 2 years. Is this maybe something where, like, man, he's starting to get, like, when was the last time he would have had to play this much hockey in a 2-month stretch? Like, it would have been years ago.
Oh, it's fatiguing too. And the other factor is, like, you got to start thinking about like fitness level, hydration, weight loss. Like, these are the things that come into effect for an athletic goalie. Like, there was guys I played with that were bigger, mobile guys that, like, or like, you know, for example, like Freddie Andersen. I bet you Freddie Andersen would play a game. I don't want to speculate this, but his wear and tear on his body versus a goalie like Carter Hart or someone who's a little bit more athletic, it starts to wear you down over time, because of the fact of during the regular season, there's going to be a lot of starts. You're going to have more breaks where you can be in the gym and you can recover and get yourself ready to, you know, maintain throughout a season. This time of year, it's literally eat, sleep, hockey. And all of a sudden, now the pixie dust starts to wear off. You start to wear down. You don't really have that break to really rejuvenate yourself. So it will be interesting. This could be the storyline, right? Like, if we're sitting here after the Stanley Cup is given out, it might be like Carter Hart run out of gas and they had Brandon Bussi, the fresh goalie, came in and saved the day.
Home ice advantage back within the grasp of the Carolina Hurricanes. Johnny Lazarus, Dave Pagnotta, Irv Kafar, our whole crew will be boots on the ground in Raleigh for Game 5 of this series, but that also means it is a guarantee that they're going to be playing more hockey in this building behind me with a Game 6 is officially a lock. We'll talk a little more Cup Final with Matt Larkin in a couple of minutes. We are very behind on today's show. We spent way more time on that than I thought we would, but I wanted to give a quick update on a pretty big story in the NHL. The Mike Babcock to Edmonton conversation has a new chapter. The NHL is moving ahead with its investigation on Mike Babcock and the events in Columbus. This is as per an NHLPA request. Pierre LeBrun was the first one to report it. Darren Dreger with a follow-up this morning saying there's no timeline on how quickly this can be carried out. The Oilers are aware of this. Players involved, etc. in 2023 will have to be interviewed. If Babcock were to back out at this stage, a league source says there would be no reason to investigate. Frank Saravalli had a little bit more to add as well. And this is kind of where it gets juicy for me, Huts. Frank with a couple of tweets this morning. If the Oilers elect to continue down the path with Babcock, sources say the NHLPA is in receipt of, quote, significant additional claims from their own investigation with players that were not publicly reported in 2023. Those claims were presented to the NHL prior to his resignation. Frank follows it up with, furthermore, sources indicate that asking players to see photos is not what ultimately resulted in Babcock's resignation. It was the subsequent unknown allegation reported that cost Babcock his job. This whole thing is one word, Huts. It's messy, and it's not a good look for the Edmonton Oilers.
No, it's not. Like, you're talking about probably the most important coaching decision in the NHL this year. You think all these teams exchanging coaches. Who is the closest team with the biggest superstar in the world to try to win a Stanley Cup right now? It's the Edmonton Oilers. To not do your due diligence when you're going to go after a guy who's already been shunned from the league and in this situation, I just think the optics of this are poor. And I think moving forward, it's going to be a lot of pressure on this team if it does go forward with everything that's going on. So it will be interesting because, again, you're back to that window where if this passes and you've just carried 2 generational players for this long and you weren't able to get over the hump and this is the way it sends off, it's not a good look for anyone, Ty.
So I'm going to go into my, usual tinfoil hat conspiracy theory Tyler mode here. But let me just run you through a scenario that I think could have played out with this Columbus thing. There's something that happens behind the scenes with the Blue Jackets. And whether it's the phone thing, clearly, as Frank's reporting, there's more to it. They look into it, the PA does, and then Columbus just kind of is, I think Columbus wanted to get out of it, or get out of the Babcock thing in general. I think there's a chance they might have just fired him. But it eventually gets to the point where Babcock resigns, and we really don't hear any more additional information about this. That kind of gets my brain turning in the sense of like, okay, this is probably worse than what we were being led on. And maybe there was a little bit of a, hey, Babs, do you really want all of this stuff coming out, or do you just want to step away and get out of here? And he stepped away and got out of there. And also, Mike Babcock stopped interviewing for jobs. The NHL loves retread head coaches. You're telling me if Babcock would have gone out there and done a little bit of positive PR that other teams wouldn't have looked at him or interviewed him? Like, of course they would have. So that all leads me to believe that he stepped away in Columbus as part of like an under the table, like, hey, we're not going to let this get public. You're not going to coach anymore. And it was like, yep, deal. Pay me for 1 year. I'm out of here. Make sure that stuff doesn't come to light. Now that he's coming out, or now that he's trying to get another job, I think this is where the PA does have a responsibility to those players in Columbus to say, whoa, there was some stuff that happened that did not properly get reported on and talked about, and it wasn't made public. And in the name of being fair and looking out, which the PA has to do, they have to look out for those players in Columbus. They're members of the Players Association. In the name of that, like, we now need to make sure all this other stuff comes to light so that those players in Edmonton know what actually went down.
Yeah, so they're prepared. Yeah, and I think it is the due diligence of our union, right? As a member of the union and a player, an ex-player, where you're in a situation where you've heard these stories, you know, these allegations, and, you know, I'm not necessarily worried about the relationship he's going to have with Draisaitl and McDavid, these guys that have hundreds of millions of dollars. You worry about what he's going to do, his impact if he hasn't changed, if this is the right decision for these younger players that are much more impressionable, very worried about, you know, where your status is and trying to make the league. And it's a fine line. So I think either way, it being exposed is for the best. And if it moves forward, it is what it is. But I think this is going to leave a lot of people with a bad taste about Babcock and the Oilers if it does go through.
So we were going to do a summer matchmaker thing, but I think our guy Matt Larkin is ready to go, correct? So
yeah,
let's skip the summer matchmaker and let's go right to our big segment. It's brought to you by the Ninja Crispy. Shark Ninja is elevating the air fryer experience once again. The Ninja Crispy Pro is a family-sized cooking system that comes with a 6-quart container, 2.5 glass quart containers, storage lids, crisper plates, a modular base. Look at everything you get with this bad boy, and it's powerful. It's an 1,800-watt air fryer that can cook a 7.5-pound chicken, feeding up to 10 people. That's almost how much chicken we were eating last night at midnight, Pat. It's customizable with 6-in-1 functions like max crisp, air fry, bake, roast, recrisp, and dehydrate. For more information on the Ninja Crispy Pro, visit the link in our description or go to sharkninja.ca. Always a pleasure to be joined by our friend Matt Larkin from dailyfaceoff.com. Matt, you got a new trade board up, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but wanted to get your thoughts on the Stanley Cup Final as well. It's exceeded a lot of people's expectations heading into the series, but it's been so high scoring, and that's like such a surprise and so far from what we really thought this series would be like. So what have we learned about these two teams? Has there been anything that's changed your opinion of either one of them?
It's crazy. I wouldn't say that my opinion has changed because I really did expect this series to be close. This was my pick in September, by the way, for the Stanley Cup Final, Carolina, Vegas. So I'm going to pat myself on the back there. But I also thought it was going to be a 7-game series because you have these two franchises that play such good play-driving hockey at both ends of the ice. They impose their will on their opponents. So expected it to go back and forth. What has surprised me is being less the in terms of what we've seen from both teams, but the seesaw nature and the fact we're getting so many goals. Because if you look at the identity under Rod Brindamore, John Tortorella, they've been asked about it repeatedly. This is not the hockey they want. I think they want 2-1 games. It's been great for pleasure as a fan watching it. It's been phenomenal. I think that's been the biggest surprise, just how wide open it's been.
I agree. I think for the excitement, for the growth of the game, and in these markets that they were worried weren't going to move the needle, we've been getting unbelievable hockey. If every game was 1-0, 2-1, it's been a crazy take on that side. Now for Vegas, it's Mitch Marner. It feels like, you know, he's been the MVP. For Carolina, what's your take? Like Jordan Staal, what he's been able to do, the goaltending. There's been so many different storylines, and they're winning as a group.
Yeah, to me, I mean, Jordan Staal, obviously, it's recency bias. He's been unbelievable in this series, and you can make a case that he's the Conn Smythe winner if Carolina wins right now. In terms of even shorter term, Brandon Bussi has been really fascinating to me, especially because I spoke to him last week. It was sort of just off to the side during media day, not expecting he was going to be getting into the series. Neither was he. But I asked him about just his mentality. And going back to his time in Boston, when he got to see Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman up close and their relationship, and he was so protective of Freddie Andersen and so adamant that they have a family mentality as goaltenders. And it was almost like he viewed everything from a team perspective. I think that actually mentally prepared him to step into the series because he talked about always being ready. And I think even you could see it in the way he played yesterday. He's battling, he's aggressive, he's right in there physically during all these scrambles. I think he's a unique goaltender in that he views everything like a hive mind and not as some individual trying to maybe outduel Freddie Andersen when he gets his shot. And I kind of feel like that's why Bussi was ready to step in and succeed. So to me, he's been very fascinating.
Yeah, that's a really good point on Bussi. And talking to a bunch of the Canes after the game yesterday, none of them want to get too far ahead of their skis. They all, even Jordan Staal said, he's like, I know you guys like asking these big picture questions. He goes, I'm just not going to do that right now. It's wake up, play hockey, survive the next shift kind of thing. And I think that mindset is so interesting in a series where, like, both these teams, like, when the games get hectic, they're not hectic in the way that it's like back and forth chance, back and forth chance, back and forth chance. It's like one team takes over for 10 minutes and you sit there and go, well, this series is over. They found their game. And then the other team just takes over for the next 10 minutes.
It's so true. It's kind of like watching, I'm going to date myself, but the old Rocky movies when you had extended sequence when one guy was just kicking the other guy's ass. And I do think it's a reflection of the way both teams play. They're so aggressive, especially Carolina with its ability to overwhelm on the forecheck. I also think it gives both teams a certain confidence that they can come back. So Carolina, even in game 3, which they didn't win, they came back from 4-0 because they can tilt the ice for extended periods of time. I think for Carolina, it's just the fact they have their coaches, their identity. They can roll so many waves that they're so fast and aggressive. And Vegas, to me, is unique because they play some of that style under Torts, but they also have the star power. That is something that Carolina doesn't have. They don't have a Mark Stone or a Mitch Marner. Jack Eichel has been shut down in this series, but he could flip the switch anytime. I think that is how Vegas can get back in. You have Brett Howden, of course, playing at a star level in the series as well. And Shea Theodore maybe evolving into the best version of him we've ever seen, not just a one-way guy, a two-way guy. So it's been really fascinating. And if I were to define the series, it's about imposing will, and the teams are taking turns doing so.
Yeah, and I think that's a big factor here with this team is like that star. I'm kind of like you. I'm like waiting for Eichel to break through. And I don't know if you've been looking at your mentions. I don't know if people are coming at you hot, but we want you at Daily Faceoff. I know you're not going to leave, but there's this other Larkin that he wants the hell out of Detroit, right? This has been the big news. What is a trade market for him? Like, what does it look like? And what is it another big name? Like, what is this? What happens here, Matt?
I think it's unbelievably robust. I was joking that for everybody, this is a boon, of course, including like writers who want to have something exciting to talk about, like me, fellow Larkin, of course. But if you look at the UFA market specifically, when Charlie Coyle and Evgeny Malkin signed, that just shrunk an already really barren group. And now you have Boone Jenner, the belle of the ball. No disrespect to Boone Jenner, but that's a reflection of how weak the market is right now. So Dylan Larkin being in play is huge. I know he only lists his 3 teams. Minnesota, obviously just flashing neon lights, amazing fit. But if you look at Vegas from an asset perspective, well, they trade away all their prospects. They don't have much to give, and they can barely fit. They're going to have to choose between Rasmus Andersen and Pavel Dorofeyev as well. So that's going to be a hard player to fit in their cap. And the reason why I mention that is, yes, it's a 3-team list, but I think it's going to have to grow if you're realistic, if you're Dylan Larkin. And I think there will be other teams in play. Montreal would be a great fit. Philadelphia would be a great fit. I think Boston, the list should be huge. And with Dylan Larkin, I think also Nico Hischier is someone to watch. The center market is going to be extremely interesting if guys like that are in play.
I love that you brought up Nico Hischier. I had literally just scrolled to his name on your trade board story, which, of course, up now on dailyfaceoff.com. We'll throw a link in the YouTube chat if people want to check it out after. But I'm fascinated by that because heading into this summer, I was like, oh, man, New Jersey might do something crazy. He needs an extension, all of that stuff. But then they hired Sonny Mehta, and I almost have too much respect for Sonny Mehta to be like, he's not dumb enough to trade Nico Hischier, but if he were to try to change the culture, like, I'm fascinated by, could we see like a Hischier for Larkin swap, a Hischier for Robert Thomas swap, like something really crazy like we saw when it was Tkachuk for Huberdeau?
Yeah, it's so tough. New Jersey to me is one of the more confounding teams of the offseason because you're coming off a playoff miss. When you bring in a new GM, theoretically, you get more of a blank slate and it's more forgivable to go backward, to go forward. But there's also this urgency with Jack Hughes on board and a team that's expected to be winning now. So I don't know how Sonny Mehta is going to behave. Even when it comes to guys like Dougie Hamilton, he was supposed to be a cap dump, and there was a blessing from his camp. He was going to wave and he'll go wherever he's going to fit, where he can kind of restart his career. But he was really good last year analytically especially, and that's someone that I think would appeal to a Sonny Meta. So with Nico Hischier as well, someone who's got a great two-way game, I don't know. I feel like are all bets off, and are things going to be completely revisited by this new regime? I'm not sure. But with Hischier, I just think the demand for his services, similar to with Larkin, would be so high that you have to at least explore it. And I know it was Pierre Lebrun who said it, but Montreal is an overwhelmingly good fit, in my opinion, for Nico Hischier.
You know, Matt, as the succession plan comes in St. Louis, right? Alex Steen takes over for Doug Armstrong. You know, Jordan Kyrie's name was on the names to keep an eye on. It felt like he was gone. Like, what's your take on Kyrou? Like, is he going to stay or go? Because he is an asset. And, like, in St. Louis is one of those teams that are just like, are they coming or are they going?
Yeah, I think Jordan Kyrou, he's got the matching contract with Robert Thomas. I think that Thomas, from what I understand, is now less likely to go based on what was reported last week from Andy Strickland. With Jordan Kyrou, he's not in my top tier of guaranteed to go, because anytime a player has a full no trade clause, he's got enough control over his destiny that we can't assume it's a lock he's going to go. But at the same time, I feel like the writing was on the wall since the game in late, I think it was 2023, when Jordan Kyrou got booed by his own fans. He cried after the game. It just felt like that was a sign that this is not his long-term fit. This season, he had a really bad year offensively. He was healthy scratched. Under the hood was actually pretty good defensively. So it's not like he was a total loss, but I do feel like he's someone that could use a change of scenery. In the 3 years before this one, if you look at his numbers combined, he was like top 20, 22 in goals, I think tied with Adrian Kempe. So there's a lot of upside to unlock. I would love to see a Jordan Kyrou in a place like Edmonton, for example. I think he could have career best numbers if he finds the right situation. So there should be teams calling. I just don't think it's a guarantee he goes.
Yeah, I think the market for him is still going to be really good, and part of that is because of the weak free agency class. Like, even Kyrou off a down year is better than everybody on the market except Alex Tuck, right? So if you're a team and you go, you know what, Tuck's going to cost me $10.5 million, Kyrou's $8 million, saving that money, getting the younger player, like that might be a deal worth doing. But I like that you threw a connection to Edmonton. We didn't have time to do our summer matchmaker question earlier, but I mean, listen, there's a lot of names that are being sort of like connected to different teams, whether it's Kosa to the Oilers and Brendan Gallagher to the Vancouver Canucks. I'm someone who, like, my favorite matchmaker that I've made up in my head, I think Colton Parayko is going to be an Anaheim Duck next season. There was talk about him moving at the deadline. I think right shot with Trouba and Gudas, both as UFAs. I think they'll make a big splash for a big righty like Parayko. But when you're putting all these names on the list, is there one player team combo that you just can't get out of your head?
Well, I think Parayko to Anaheim is a great fit for Mason McTavish. Maybe can you do that as a 1-for-1 trade or something close to it? I think it's a really good fit. In terms of ideal matchmaking, it's not the most exciting, but I just want to be realistic. The one I've been thinking about is from the free agent market, and it's Bobby McMahon to the Edmonton Oilers, because they need, I think, size. They need someone who's big, but also really fast. He's coming off a 29-goal season. And I just think that would really spruce up the forward core. I know you're kind of buying high, and he's not nearly as young as people think. He turns 30, I think, before the season starts, or around the time the season starts. But that doesn't matter for an Oilers team that desperately wants to win now. So I actually really would like to see someone like that joining the Oilers in the top 6 or top 9.
All right, Matt, appreciate your time as always. Full story up now at dailyfaceoff.com, your new trade board for people to read through all the names that are on there. And there's some juicy ones from Shane Wright, even guys who we haven't talked about since the deadline, like a Jonathan Marchessault, Ryan Hartman, of those players of those ilk. But Matt, appreciate your time. Thanks for popping on. Enjoy the rest of the Cup Final.
Thanks, boys.
Hutz, I'll be honest, when you started your question to Larkin about the Dylan Larkin, and I had no idea where you were going.
Well, because the same name, man. Same name. And then the chat's buzzing over his hat, too. How do I get a hat like that? I got to wear the same hat every day. I got to get a nice daily face-off hat. I got to pull some strings with the Larkin.
I think I've been here for longer than both of you, and I don't still have a daily face-off hat. It's ridiculous. So there was a question in here about Babcock again, and I know we spent a lot of time on it, but it was from Randy. He says, do you think that it means anything that the two big Oilers are for Babcock and for hiring him? And this is where, again, like, and Jason Gregor has a really good piece about this at OilersNation.com, where, like, Mike Babcock has never shown any regret or remorse for what he did with Mitch Marner or Johan Franzen or even the stuff in Columbus. He just keeps coming out and saying, like, oh, things aren't reported accurately. They're not always what they seem, blah, blah, blah. Like, the idea that the Oilers star players could have sat in a Zoom call with Mike Babcock and came away really impressed with him, that's not far-fetched or hard to believe. Like, Mike Babcock knows how to be a good PR person for Mike Babcock. So I don't know. I don't know if it says anything about the Oilers stars. I don't think it's like a bad look for them even necessarily. They might just be sitting there. And again, this is why players don't hire coaches. They might just be sitting there going, dang, you know, like, he's a hard ass. I think we need that. He's won before, Olympic winning coach, like all this stuff. Like, I can see how Babcock could have successfully sold himself to the Oilers core.
Yeah, I think so too. And the fact of his resume is good, but he's always been blessed with like pretty good teams too, right? Like there's a lot of those teams that he coached. Like I think about that Olympic gold medal. I think I could have coached that. Just make sure the team got to the game on time, right? There's like that factor of it. But I do agree with your, you know, in all seriousness about the non-remorseful of some of the stuff that has come out. There's never been like, you know, just taking some accountability. And I think in a world where, you know, the hammer dropped hard, the pendulum swung the other way, and a lot of these old school mentalities were snuffed out really quick. We also are quick to forgive, right? Like there is a human nature and people can grow and get better. But if you're not going to be accountable and you're not going to ever vocalize this and just be defensive and try to shun things, I think it leaves people with a bad taste about you.
And again, like this is something I said yesterday. I kind of had the thought of like, well, if the Oilers big dogs wanted, if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl will say, no, we're fine with it, what grounds does the NHLPA have to block this? But then I was told, I was talking to another media member yesterday, and they said, well, remember, like the NHLPA also has to protect those guys in Columbus. Like if, let's just run through a hypothetical here. If Mike Babcock did something egregious to Kent Johnson, and the PA says, well, he plays in Columbus, the Oilers players want Babcock, so we're going to do it. And then a month later, the Oilers acquire Kent Johnson. Well, now all of a sudden, Kent Johnson, who's a young player with no trade protection, is sitting there going, hey, I was in a, whatever word you want to use, abusive is probably too strong, but whatever. That coach like did something wrong to me and wasn't good. And now all of a sudden, because the PA just decided to let it go under the rug, I have to go play for him again. Like you need to kind of make sure if he really did, if these transgressions were so bad, you need to make sure that other players aren't in a spot where they have to go through it or potentially be matched up with him again.
Yeah, 100%, right? And it's the tale old as time, right? Like we've seen it so many times where the old school mentality of hockey is like, well, that's just hockey. You got to be tough. You got to be whatever. And then like later down the road, you hear of all the shit that comes out and how bad it was. So this is why this isn't like some bush league hockey league. This is the NHL. We have a union. There's things in place. So this doesn't happen to players. There's a lot of, and like how often we saw Linus Ullmark take a mental leave this year because of mental stress and everything that's gone into it. So this is something the due diligence needs to be done now. And I don't know if he's ready or if he isn't, but that will be up to Mike Babcock and the things that he has done to try to forgive his past.
All right, let's get to our daily bets for Bet365. Tired of waiting around for the end of the game to get paid? That's why Bet365, an official partner of the NHL, has the 3-goal early payout. When the team you're riding with goes up 3, you get paid. It is that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Find out more about the 3-goal early payout. These are the early odds for Game 5 of the series, but I got a different one for you, Huts. I am looking at the total length of this series. We know it is a lock to go 6, but fill in the blank. There's a blank % chance this series goes 7.
Yeah, 65%. I just feel like it's going 7. This has been like the best Stanley Cup final that I can remember to recent date, like what I've watched firsthand. This has been unbelievable. It feels like it's setting up so well. It feels like Vegas is going to go in, win Game 5, Carolina on the road, sets up a crazy Game 7. I just think it's heading that way, Ty.
You can also get, there's an interesting line, over 3.5 road wins in the series, which means you would need 2 more road wins in the series, but it's plus 330, which is surprisingly juicy. So there's a couple futures props for you, courtesy of our friends at Bet365. Wrapping up with garbage time, and we will wrap up with one more on the Stanley Cup Final. There are so many reasons to love this time of year, and it's just, again, amazing to see how much these moments and being in the Cup Final means to so many players. And for Brandon Bussi, he was on with Sportsnet's Kyle Bukauskas after the game and got a little emotional when he saw his parents reacting in the crowd. Let's take a watch, Pat.
Really neat to see both your parents, Rob and Lisa, your fiance Mary here as well. There's some great reactions, and then as you can imagine in the crowd. So I just wanted to see this. What do you think?
Oh, that's pretty special. So they're the reason why I'm able to do what I do right now. Their sacrifice means everything, and yeah, they're the best.
Just the fact that they're here watching this in person, I mean, what does that mean to you?
I mean, flying East Coast to Vegas in one day or this morning is a lot. It means a lot. I can't believe you guys just did that to me on TV. So,
I mean, he's great. The personality that Bussi has is awesome. You can tell he's just super humble and taking in the moment. But how can you not get emotional watching your parents celebrate what you're doing in the Cup final like that?
Yeah, it's honestly, personally, for me, just watching that yesterday, like, makes me almost well up, like, and think about what he's going through. And I think about games that I played with my family and support. It's just like anything. I know it's hockey, but whether it's school, it's your job, like, you're such a product of your surroundings and the people that bring you up. So for him, it's obviously a very special moment, one he won't soon forget, but he's going to have to park the emotions, get ready to rock again, because he's starting Game 5.
Yeah, I think he absolutely is starting Game 5. Travel day today in the Stanley Cup Final, but then it is Game 5 time from Raleigh, North Carolina. I got to fly home from Vegas, but I'll be ready to go for tomorrow's show. So another day of Stanley Cup Final talk, probably more updates on Babcock, as much as I'm sure we're all excited to keep talking about that. But that is a wrap on today's edition of Daily Faceoff Live. Go read Larkin's full new trade board up at the site. In the meantime, the sheet's coming up in 25 minutes as well, and we'll see you all right back here tomorrow at noon Eastern.
Hey hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on the sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.